What if I told you that there was a plan, one that actually laid out a logical process of how to remove Christianity from society, and that it has been on the works for nearly a century? Yes, I'm talking about a 10-point plan to end Christianity that allegedly exists. So quickly before we begin, to make this simpler, I grouped the 10-point plan into 5 steps, with point 1 having the first step, point 2 and 3 having the second step, point 4, 5, and 6 having the third step, point 7 and 8 having the fourth step, and point 9 and 10 having the final step. So step 1, control what is being taught. And this is defined by the first point, taking God and prayer out of the education system. So apparently, Alice Bailey said that the curriculum should be changed to ensure that children are freed from the bondage of Christian culture. Why? Because children go to school to be equipped to face life, and they are willing to trust and they are willing to value what is being given to them. I mean, if that is not malicious, I don't know what that is. But yes, so if you take God out of education, they will unconsciously form a resolve that God is not necessary to face life, and they will focus on the things that the school counts them worthy to be passed on, and they will look at God as an additional, if one can afford the additional. Now, please understand that this plan was said to be drafted around the 1940s, and the education systems in this time of history was very different. Mandatory Bible reading and school mandated prayers were still very much prevalent in schools at that time, in many, almost all countries, especially the ones that were colonized by European powers, most of which have state religions till today. But since then, many of these countries have put laws on the separation of church and state. Basically, they have declared themselves a secular state. And this meant that whatever religion that was being communally practiced in schools had to be removed. And Christianity was one of them. For example, in 1962, the US Supreme Court ruled that government-endorsed prayer was unconstitutional. And the following year, they ruled that government-mandated Bible readings was also unconstitutional. They pretty much hit the nail on the coffin with this one. I mean, people could still pray in school, like privately, but yeah, there was no government-mandated religion in schools. But while this has been a cause of debate by so many people, most people don't realize that this applies to every other religion. So I don't see it as a direct attack to the church, because as I said, people can still pray privately and things like that. There are, however, people who take this law and completely abuse it. For example, there have been multiple cases this decade, as recent as July 2022, when a coach was fired because he prayed. He didn't force people to pray. And while this is happening, perverse doctrine of identity expression and perverse sexuality is seeping into curriculums all over the planet. This is the downside of things. And if you want, you can check this video here where I did a reaction to a kids educational program that was teaching kids that things like masturbation was A-okay.
There's no limit on the number of times a person can masturbate each day. Do it as much as you want.
That it was okay if you are whatever sexuality. That's for that video. If you want to watch it, go there. And in the name of freedom of religion, see what this after-school program in the US is being allowed to teach kids. Step number 2, destabilize the Christian family. And as I said, these are 2 points. Point number 2, reduce parental authority over children. And point number 3, destroy the Judeo-Christian or the traditional Christian family structure. Apparently, she said that the family structure, the Judeo-Christian family structure is oppressive, and that since the family is the core of the nation, if you break the family, you break the nation. What? And you liberate people from the confines of this structure. She also said that the communication between parent and child should be broken. I've got to say, I admire how efficient this plan sounds so far, because most of the previous attempts were to simply kill, burn, destroy Christianity, and it didn't work. Actually, Christianity grew the more when it was faced with such things. But this one is live. This one is going inside, like to the roots, and trying to uproot it using the next generation. That is messed up. That is very subtle. That is very lethal. I mean, these 2 steps were implemented. Christian parents cannot pass on their beliefs to their children. And is there evidence for that? Is there evidence on these points being done? Is there evidence on reducing parental authority? Yes, There is, and it's not good. Number one, parents have been, their role as moral guides has been reduced or taken away from them by celebrities and corrupted curriculums in schools. I don't think I have to explain to anyone why you shouldn't follow celebrities as your moral guide. But on corrupted curriculum, this is way worse than you think, because subjective ideas that haven't been filtered even through science are being taught as law, as doctrine to our kids in school. I believe you've seen all over the news where children as young as 4 years have been allowed to start their sex changes. A 4-year-old girl says she's a boy, and then voila, let's do this, let's start this. And these little kids are influenced by celebrities and corrupted teachers who just want to diffuse their belief systems to these innocent kids. And as if that's not enough, governments are legislatively forcing parents to support their kids on these sex changes, with kids beginning social transitioning from as early as 5 and proceeding to hormonal and surgical transitioning in their teenage years. It's pathetic. It's mutilation of children. And by the way, for those who do not know, sexual reassignment surgery has a horrifying rate. It's over 10%, and that is multiple times way beyond the average mortality rate of all surgeries. Over 10% in transgender women and 3% in cis women. And add to that the increased rate of suicide and depression among people who have sexually reassigned themselves. It's actually scientific. They are more prone to experience suicidal thoughts and depression. Now, on breaking traditional family structure, a few things were laid out. Number one was promoting sexual promiscuity and using the advertising medium. That was the 1940s. We're in 2023 at the time I'm making this video. What do you think has happened? For God's sake, even an ice cream commercial, a soda commercial, they must do something to, set off a trail of thoughts. And don't get me started on the subliminal messages in kids' shows. They're there, everyone knows it. My childhood was ruined when I saw those videos. And look at how they add sexual subliminal messages in kids' clothing. See, Balenciaga, no? And they are here breeding up a hypersexual generation. What's the purpose of all this? How does it relate with breaking the family structure? Well, you see, when you hypersexualize a generation, the concept of marital sex doesn't apply. Them, sex is the highest enjoyment of life. It doesn't make sense for you to wait to get married so that you can have sex. The Judeo-Christian family structure is grounded on that. And now people glorify being sexually active, even when it's outside marriage. You actually now look more awkward if you're not sexually active. And this leads to more premarital birth and less accountability taken for the children that are birthed in these situations. And it's actually statistically proven that less values are passed on to children in these situations. Children from single parenthood and teenage pregnancies are statistically more likely to get into crime, drugs, and those kind of things. And I'm not here to bash anyone with such a background. No, that's not my intention at all. But that's the reality. I'm just saying this hypersexualization has adverse effects, far more reaching than you can think, and it massacres the Judeo-Christian family structure. And it does not give an ecosystem where Christian values can be passed on. And then comes step 3, destabilizing the community. And here's where the seeds that were planted in the family now spread up and cause destruction. Because listen to the point in this step. If sex is free, then make abortion legal and make it easy. What? This was in the 1940s. What the heck? Point number 5, make divorce easy and legal and free people from the concept of marriage for life. And point number 6, make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. See how strategic these people are? They went from subtle things involving children and the next generation to a whole blow up of their clear intention to ruin the structure of Christianity. I just want you to notice, do you see how much disruption, so much decadence comes from changing how a community perceives or defines sex? Let me see your views in the comment section. Now, about abortion, she said, build clinics for abortion and put health clinics in schools. If people are going to enjoy the joy of sexual relationships, they need to be free of unnecessary fears. In other words, they should not be hampered by unwanted pregnancies and diseases. Look, she's not talking about contraceptives, okay? She's talking about abortion, the killing of an unborn child. Now, I'm not against abortion care being given because there are situations in which abortion care is necessary. For example, in a miscarriage or where there's a risk of sepsis. Yeah, that one I understand. And I'm not going to debate that over here. I'm actually starting a video series on abortion, the church, and the Bible. And if you want to look at it, click this video over here. But she's not presenting contraceptives. She's presenting abortion, killing of an unborn child, as an alternative to contraception. In her reason, human lives are being literally sacrificed to alleviate human beings from the responsibility that comes with being sexually degenerate, from being sexually perverse. Now, remember, this is in the 1940s, where abortion was literally in the hundreds out of the millions of births, say, in the US. By 1973, when abortion was ruled to be a right in the US, the number of babies being massacred per year was 700,000.